All right, man. So, I'm making a video on competition and how players can do good at open. Um, and that's something that people really struggle with, mainly because of nerves. I think
Hmm.
people don't have a problem with practicing tricks. Uh, but were you always interested in competing? Do you like competition, and do you like open division particularly?
Yeah, no, I like competitions in general. Just I mean, just like growing up and stuff, I did a lot of different sports. Competition was always something that was just in my life. And like once I knew that there were competitions for kendama, that was like definitely something that I wanted to like get into. But it's so different from anything else I'd ever done before because I'm always in like a team sport kind of thing, like soccer. I used to play soccer for a long time. So it's, switching to something that's completely like individualized and
Yeah.
like everyone's only looking at you, like you don't have a whole team right up there with you. It's just all on you. So I really
Yeah.
had to like, kind of figure that out. And like honestly, I still do get nerves like at competitions and stuff, but like um all it takes sometimes is just for like one like good thing to happen at a comp and then they kind of just go away. Like for
Okay.
me, like if I have like a really good like first round, then it's usually not as bad like later on. It's
Gotcha.
kind of just like a little mental thing that you just kind of have to face. You kind of just have to face head on, and if it goes well, then you should be solid. But
Yeah.
it's just kind of
Um,
how it is.
yeah, I know. It seems like I think people are surprised by how mental it is. Like
It's a
they
huge mental game more than anything.
practice. Yeah, they practice and they're like, okay, I should be good. And I remember my first competition, Diamond in the D. Um, I I was like, I just can't do a lighthouse. Like I was like, I was 2 years of playing and I just was shaking so badly.
I Yeah,
What,
shaking
what why
was
didn't you go through like when did you start playing?
I started playing back. It was Christmas Day actually of 2013. That was when I got my first one, but I tried it from one of my friends. I think maybe 2 months before.
Okay.
But yeah, didn't actually like officially start playing until like December of 2013.
And then you just started grinding from there every day,
Pretty
basically.
much. Yeah, I just
Yeah,
had like a small
I
group of
was like
friends.
Christmas 2015, and then I just started. I
Yeah,
never took a break, so I'm just like two
that's
years
pretty.
behind
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
I never really took a break.
yeah, it's cool. So when was your first comp?
My first competition was actually a battle at the border. I think it was the one at the very start. I want to say of 2015.
Okay,
It was one. I think it was the first year that battle at the border was held at Rocket Town. It was in the small venue because it was still, not a huge event yet, but like they had the smaller venue at the place that we were at, last year,
yeah,
um, back when we were in person. But we're in the bigger venue. But
yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the first one that I actually went to.
Okay, and then how'd you do?
Not well at all. I lost my first round. I'm pretty sure it was a 3-0 loss, just because
um,
I got up there and everyone's looking at you, the nerves hit, and my brain just shut down and I did not know what to do. I practiced a ton, but like it doesn't matter if you can't get past the nerves, you are not going to. I mean, it just doesn't work.
Interesting, man. So
Yeah.
I think it's a relief to hear that you just won Battle at the Border 2021, beating the best player, Nick Gallagher. And your first comp, you were just over whelmed by your nerves.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Uh, cool. Well, glad to see that you're able to progress and to improve. I definitely want to dive into that. I guess we could probably go into that, and then I kind of want to go into like what you did this competition. But what would you say like? Well, first of all, I do want to ask, kind of apart from competition, Liam, you've always been like a top player. I think everyone kind of like figures that, but you kind of started like, I guess 2013 is still a long time. I mean, that's like 8 years or whatever. Um, but what would you say? Because you weren't like, when did the Gallagher start? 10 years ago?
I think
Nine
so.
years?
I'm pretty sure they started back. I want to say like 2010 or 2011,
Yeah.
some point in there. I can't remember exactly when, but it was like I want to say like May 2010, if I had to
Yeah.
guess. I think that was when they started.
Because you're talked about as one of the best players in Kendama. I know you knew that, and I was trying to like, like
You're trying
give
to
you
gas me
props
up
or
right now.
whatever. But yeah, um, but you started. You were not like the first, second generation. You were kind of like a little bit, behind them. What would you? Uh, why do you think that you became so good and to the level that you are? What would you account that to?
Honestly, just a lot of hard work. I'm the type of person, not just in Kendama, but like I definitely had to like work for everything that like I guess people know me for. Like I mean, if you're like a close friend of mine, like how my friends think I'm like insanely smart, and I don't completely agree with them sometimes, but they just know that I study really hard in school, and that's like like why I do well. And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of that translates over to here because I know how to like prep myself for things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like studying in a way. You just have to, dedicate some time, put in the work. And that's what gets you better, at least for
So
me.
you hold
And
yourself
everyone's
to a
different, but yeah,
yeah. You kind of hold yourself to a high regard, a high expectation.
yeah, definitely.
Um, is there things that you do day to day? I think every Kendama player is doing different things day to day. I mean, they're probably mostly doing the same thing with, hey, I want to do this trick. Let me practice it. Or I'm going to move to this trick. Or I'm going to film an edit. I'm going to practice for a competition. Do you think you do anything differently than most players? Or do you think you play more? Or do you think it's like more like talent?
I don't think so. I mean, I honestly feel like I kind of just do what everyone else does. Some days
Yeah.
I'll film tricks. Some days if there's a comp coming up, I'll practice or just work on other things. I
Yeah.
really don't feel like I do anything too differently. It's just especially when there is a competition, I really, I crack down on like what tricks I need to be like working on the most. And like, I have like a whole like practice regimen that I follow and I change it up based on like my performance in the past. Like I at this point, I definitely take it pretty seriously and I do hold myself to, I would say, a high standard as far as like how much practice I put in.
Okay, that's awesome to hear, and I love to dive into that, dude. Like I've been doing that, and I haven't gotten more than like 13th place, but I've spent hours and hours and hours for competition practicing for NAKO. It was like 3 hours a day, and it sounds like we're on the same page. I think we're in the
Yeah.
same wavelength. So,
Hmm.
should we go through like I guess let's just go into this battle of the border, what your current regimen is, and then I kind of want to see how you developed it. But like, comps coming up, battle of the border. It was announced a little late this year, but what do you do? Like, when do you start?
So basically once the list is out, I basically just start right then. Um, I'll kind of just break down what I do in a nutshell. So basically, the first couple days, I'm basically just familiarizing myself with the tricks. I'll basically just go down the list and just kind of like feel them out and kind of figure out like what kendama I'm going to use because I want to be able to figure that out quickly. So then I can be breaking it in and not feel the need to like change setups like in the middle of practicing. I try and
Yep.
figure that out early on so I don't have to worry about that like later on. Um, so I would say like the first like 3 days is just like getting used to the tricks and with the kendama that I'm going to be using. Um, and then I would say like once like day 3 hits, I really start to like check my consistency on the tricks. So what I'll do is I'll literally go down the list and hit each trick 3 times in a row before I move on to the next one. And sometimes if I'm like struggling with one, I'll try and hit it a couple more times after that before moving on. So I'll do that. I would say like this time around, I did that for a solid like 2 weeks straight after the tricks were out. And then once it started getting a little bit closer to the competition, I kind of switched and I was checking myself mostly on like how many tries it takes to hit a trick like from the first try.
Gotcha.
And just figuring out which ones I needed to work on from there, which ones I would have to, put more focus into because like some tricks you kind of have to like feel it out a couple times. Like you'll miss a few times, but then you'll get into the rhythm of it. So I try and figure out like what my rhythm is for those tricks, so I don't have
Okay.
to like completely rethink it in my head. I can just pull it up and do it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's pretty much
Um,
it, honestly.
yeah. Okay. So you get familiar with the tricks, you do them, maybe you land them once or twice.
Hmm.
And then the real practice begins when you go through each trick and you practice it until you land it 3 times in a row.
Hmm.
Do you ever get to a trick where you just are like, I'm just going to lose at this. I'm just not going to do this trick, this competition. It's going to take too much time, or every trick you just go for?
I really try and put as much work into those ones as much as any other one.
Cool.
If I feel the need to, I'll kind of step away from the ones that I know that I'll be good on and just dedicate more of my time into the harder ones. Cause like definitely like this past competition, one of the ones that was like really tough for me was the sweet special one.
Mm,
For some reason, I always have like a weird, like, I can never get the tama rotating right whenever I do sweet special. So I was like really trying to figure out like all the motions for that one.
Yeah.
So I would completely not even focus on some of the easier ones in the list and just work on that one just over and over again until I could finally get like the right. And I really try and remember like what my muscle movements are. If it's like a small little adjustment I can make, I'll always remember that and just try and, you know, just have that in my brain for whenever I need to use it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Just things that you're mentioning, I can just talk about hours about, but it's things that I just go through too. But so, you know, one thing that I've noticed is learning to land a trick. Like sometimes there's a trick to the trick, like people say that, you know, like fast hand lighthouse. I noticed that if I put my hand closer to the base cup, it's easier to go down, right?
Yeah.
And then like, okay, I can kind of get this trick a little easier. But there's definitely tricks to getting a trick more consistent too. You know, like you can land sweet special. What was it? Left hand sweet special, like offhand?
Yeah, it was like the sweet special and then opposite hand spike.
Opposite hand spike, right? Mm-hmm. But it's fascinating to hear that, like same with me, that to get it consistent and to get it every time, it's like a whole different practice and regimen and ball game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
That's really cool. So what was also interesting that I heard, just to kind of like reiterate here, is that instead of like ignoring the tricks that you just really don't like or you're not good at, you attack them specifically and you really get them down.
Definitely.
So is that coming from like an overall strategy? Do you have like an overall strategy of when you go into a comp? Like, what would you say to that?
I would say like my main thing is being able to capitalize on the ones that you think that a lot of people are going to mess up on. So I'll really, like I said, I'll pay attention to those harder tricks that I have a feeling that other people could get tripped up on. Because if they are going to trip on them, then I want to be able to take advantage of that opportunity to get points.
Yeah.
So that's like huge. And then also just like my mindset in general in the competition is like, it really helps me just focus on what the task is in front of me. So what I'm thinking usually is I don't pay attention to whoever I'm playing against. Like I'll obviously recognize who they are, but I won't like be thinking about that the entire time. Basically what's going on in my mind is, okay, I have a trick that I have to do. I'm just going to do it once and then do it again and then do it one more time, switch tricks, and then just keep doing that over and over again. So I really just focus on landing it right there and then not even think about like whether they're going to land it or not. Just reset my mind. If they land it, okay, I got to do it too. And you just keep going.
So. Yeah, right. So that comes down to the final trick against Nick, which was the ghost to candle ghost spike. When you got to that trick, were you thinking like, this is the trick that I need to do? Is that it? Or did you have a little bit of thoughts like, okay, this is going to win the competition?
Well, in my mind, I was like, yeah, okay. I was like, all I need is 1 point. Like all I need to do is just focus on just watch every movement I make and just really try and land this right now. Cause I could end it now if I really tried. And I know that I missed the first couple of times just because of like little things that I did, just the little mistakes, and they really get you sometimes. But just that last try, I remember taking an extra breath and just like looking at it, and I was just like, okay, yeah, this is it. Like I can do this right now.
Sick, man.
And like even though he might land it, like it'll still keep me in the competition, and you know maybe I'll get him in another trick. But yeah, I'm glad I was able to finish it there rather than keep it going and risk anything.
Yeah, man. I was when Nick won the first game, what went through your head?
So in the past, like that's happened before. And honestly, I've been on the other side of that more often. Like I remember actually Battle at the Border 2018, pulling in some more Battle at the Border history here. I played against Bonds in the finals, and I was on the losers bracket side. And so I was obviously at a big disadvantage from the start. And I won the first one. I think I actually 5-0'd him, if I remember correctly. And I don't really remember how, but I did it and it was reset. But he destroyed me the second game. It was like 5-1 or something like that. I remember that and I was like, okay, like he could win this game, but like in the end, like it still could be either way.
Yeah.
And so like once he won, I started remembering. I actually did start remembering the 2018, and I was like, okay, I'm on the opposite side of this now. Bonds won when he went against me when this happened, so I can just as easily win in this
Yeah.
case as long as I just do what I'm supposed to do. So I just tried to not let it get to my head and just keep a clear, fresh mindset, you know.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. I think experience, it has the biggest part to play in nerves. Like
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, the first time that I played someone who was like a pro who was really good, uh, that had a big aspect in my brain, in my mind. It was
Hmm.
very intimidating. But the next time I did it, which I got destroyed by Duesti this tournament, but I was like, let's go, like I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this. So, like, I'm ready to win. But you went back to a past experience where you had with Bonds, and you maybe recalled that in your mind, which gave you more confidence to play Nick again.
Hmm.
Um, so how many hours do you think let's say Battle at the Border, how many hours do you think you put in for every day or the whole thing?
I would say every day, like during that time when I am going through the tricks, like 3 times in a row, that will usually take, for this one, I would say it took anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half just to like, for me to feel like completely comfortable with them. Cause I don't really want to just do them and like
Yeah.
maybe not feel comfortable with them. I want to make sure I'm like actually feeling good before I call it a night.
Yeah.
So it was for me usually anywhere from like an hour to hour and a half, depending on like how long that took.
So would you just say, okay, I have an hour of playing today. I'm going to try to do this trick 3 times in a row. And if it's easy, I'll move on to the next one. Or do you just take a trick a day?
I kind of just do them all. I'll go through the whole list every day.
Gotcha.
I want to make sure I can devote as much focus as I can to all of them, and then just really try and just like over time slowly start to pick out those ones that I know I just need to work on, and then
Okay.
definitely don't forget about the ones that you're feeling good on, because I've done that before and that can definitely come back to haunt you later,
Yeah.
because you'll just let your guard down once you pull those tricks.
Yeah.
So don't forget about those, but definitely put some more focus into the hard ones.
Do you prepare? So do you, up until comp day or the day before comp day, do you prepare mentally at all, or is it all just focusing on getting the tricks?
At this point, I would say like I kind of figured out like what my mindset is.
Yeah.
I definitely had different mindsets before other competitions. I definitely did have like try and like level my mind out as much as I could before those. And this was back like at the time, like when I knew I was like playing against all these like crazy pros and I was still pretty like inexperienced, you know. But like at this point, I definitely feel like I have enough like competition experience. I kind of know like what to expect when I go into it. I just expect everybody to be like on the ball, like as honed as possible. And I just kind of know, just kind of lock into my own mindset and just focus on the tricks that I have in front of me.
Playing Kendama as Liam, who is just session one night for a trick or for an Instagram clip, does that feel a lot different than like comp Liam playing like in a competition doing a trick? Do you feel a lot different nowadays?
Um, yeah, I mean, because honestly, like with some of the tricks that I like try and film, they can be like really frustrating.
Yeah.
And like when I'm practicing for competitions, I don't think I really get like that frustrated. Like even when I'm like struggling with a trick,
Yeah.
like I know it's nothing compared to like, whatever like stupid trick I'm trying to like film.
Yeah.
And I know I shouldn't like get myself too down about it. Because it's definitely a much easier thing to like, it's a much easier problem to fix. Like, because
Yeah.
like you've got all this time to prep yourself for the competition and what was I trying to say? I don't know. Basically, it's just like
Yeah.
less frustrating. Like I have fun like whenever I practice for comps because I mean comps are just enjoyable to me.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
really
I
know like
mean,
what else to like add to that. It's kind of just I mean I just enjoy practicing for them. I don't
yeah.
know. It's
Yeah,
kind
for
of hard to
sure.
explain that.
Yeah. Well, it is a different kind of practice, It's not like
Yeah.
you're trying to land this once, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just get so agitated, I guess, like when I am filming stuff because like I'll be trying like some crazy concept that like I can't even like completely comprehend sometimes, and I just
Yeah.
keep trying it until it finally makes sense. But, like with these, it's so like straightforward, and I know what I have to do. Like, I guess that's the best way to explain it, honestly.
No, yeah, for sure, man. You know where the mistake is. You know, like what you need to work on if it's like one muscle or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
What I was gonna say in the last question was up until like comp day, the day before comp day, your mentality. But is it? It sounded like based on your answer that you don't really do. I mean, do you pump yourself up before comp? Or are you just kind of confident going in because of your experience?
I feel like I've definitely grown a lot more confidence like going into competitions over the years, but I definitely still have to like get myself hyped, you know. I don't want to just go into it like not feeling good.
Yeah,
I really want to make sure that I'm like feeling myself going into it because that'll help me get into the right state of mind that I need to be in.
yeah,
So I'll always have like my music with me. That's like a big thing. I'll always be listening to it whenever I'm competing. That's like one thing that I really figured out like over the years helps a ton.
cool.
Um, and I figured that out first just because first couple competitions, you're on stage, the music is blasting, everyone's looking at you, and it's hard to just focus on one single thing.
Yeah,
But like with the music, I try and make sure that I listen to stuff when I'm competing that I also listen to when I'm practicing. So
gotcha.
that way I can kind of put myself into my practice mind, you know, because then
Yeah,
it's a lot easier for me to just like, oh, it's just like I'm practicing. And then I just kind of treat the tricks how I would as if I was practicing.
yeah. I noticed that
So
you
that
would press
definitely helps a
play
lot.
before you would try a trick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're literally just pressing play on the music and then awesome, man.
Pretty much, yeah.
Do you ever think like that would because you're not listening to the kendama that it would obviously it doesn't take it away, but I would kind of think that would maybe take away from the trick because I can't hear it, but maybe not.
Yeah, I usually turn it down a little bit just so I can hear what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't have it like blasting the entire time because that would distract me, honestly.
Yeah.
I just have to find like the right volume.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean I listen to music when I play all the time and it's
Yeah.
not like I'm listening to like me do a juggle. It's like especially for a trick that I'm practicing for like I've done it a million times, you know.
Yeah.
Um Another question. So do you treat like the first match or second match, you're going up to like against a guy that you just don't know, um, could be really good. It could be some guy that's been practicing a lot, but do you treat those matches any differently than you do against like a big name? And I know you might think that you'd like to, but do you think like realistically, does it throw you off if you're playing against a big name, or do you kind of come into it with more confidence?
I honestly don't treat any match any differently from another. Everybody who I play against in my mind is Nick Gallagher.
Yeah,
Because I always expect the best out of everybody.
yeah,
And I don't want to let my guard down to anybody because I've seen some major upsets happen, um, like firsthand. I know that literally anything is possible in these competitions. If somebody could be having a horrible day, somebody could be having the best day. So
yeah,
you just have to treat everybody the same, and never let any names get to your head, even if you are playing against a big name, because they could have a bad day and it could be the perfect time for you to take advantage of that and win. And
yeah.
like I've definitely been able to like do that over the years, and that's definitely like what has been like a confidence builder for me
Gotcha.
over time. So yeah.
Cool. One thing that I noticed with this comp particularly for the first time ever competing, I've been maybe like 10 comps in, so I'm like relatively new. I feel really, really still pretty new to it, but still like slowly progressing. Um, is that I felt I did like I landed tricks, which was like for the first time ever, like I was able to like land tricks that I know I can land.
Yeah.
But I almost felt more like myself. And like the first few comps I did, when I would go up there, I wouldn't feel like I was uh like Isaac. It was like playing a hand that was so much worse at Kendama. Um and it wasn't like I am just in my basement session like normally, but yesterday, at least some matches, I was like just felt like in control, like I normally would. Um, do you resonate with that experience at all? Like, have you gone through that?
Yeah, I feel like, and a lot of that for me, I feel comes with the fact that you're being put on the spot, and you can definitely, it's easy to get in your head. You know that people are watching you. You
Yeah,
know, in my mind, I'm always like I have like the fear of like being judged, and I feel like everybody does to some
yeah,
extent. But you obviously you know that everybody's watching. You don't want to like mess up and look bad. Um, I feel like that's like the main thing that kind of like triggers that and kind of makes you feel like not yourself because you're in a so much of a a different environment than what you're practicing in.
Yeah.
And I think that like to fix that, you honestly just kind of just need more experience.
Yeah.
Just a lot more. You need to just be in more matches and
Yeah.
get used to the environment, the settings, the crowd, the people watching you. And that just takes time. And the more you do, the better you get. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I just would feel so much differently about doing a trick when I'm in a comp and I have to do it. It's just like a different feeling of playing versus me just like, oh, let me practice this slinger, you know?
Yeah. If you mess up then, like, that's it. Like, that could be points. And if you're just practicing by yourself, you know, it doesn't matter. You just keep doing it.
Yeah.
But this is it. Like, you gotta do it now.
Yeah. It's such a different way of playing kendama.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, it was, I'm glad that we talked about comp stuff. I'm going to go over to these questions. So strategy and preparation for comp, what you do during the week, got that down. Got that question in. Yeah, I had a question like, did your strategy change from earlier rounds to later rounds? But it didn't sound like you just play everyone like they're Nick Gallagher, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. Once I'm in a competition, I really try to just keep the same strategy going, because if I change, then that could definitely mess up a lot of things mentally. And I want to make sure that everything up here is like feeling good. Yeah.
So everyone knows the nervous feeling, that pit in your stomach. Did you feel that at all yesterday?
To be honest, I definitely didn't as much, and it may be because of the fact that we are online. And it definitely feels like there's a lot less people watching, even though we had over 1,000 people on the stream, which is insane. But it is definitely different. Like when you're actually at an in-person event and there's people all around you watching, you definitely start to get that like stage fright. But like, to be honest, like even when I am like at a competition with like an actual crowd and stuff, it really just takes like, again, just like one good round. Like once you make it past that first round, you get the first round jitters. You know, everyone knows about those. Once you get past those, then you're usually feeling pretty good. And then you just kind of, the feeling, what you're going to expect the next time you go up. And you kind of know just how to better prepare yourself, physically and mentally for that. And I feel like I'm just at a point right now where I've done enough comps to kind of, I recognize that feeling going into it. And I definitely still get first round jitters, but like they definitely go away, I would say, a lot more quickly.
Gotcha.
Just with the point where I'm at right now.
Yeah, for sure. I get a sense that when you go up against a big name, or when you have to reach for something that just to pull out the win, like last night at the last game, I'm kind of getting the sense that you get your confidence from your practice and the amount of times you've tried each trick. Does that sound right?
Oh, that's totally accurate. In my mind, I'm like, I've done this 3 times in a row when I practice. I know exactly how to do it. I just got to pull all those muscle memories back into my mind and just do it.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
It's totally a confidence thing for sure.
Yeah. That's really cool. So another question on the preparation, just kind of specifically, I'm really, really curious about this. You get down your tricks, and then you will schedule like an hour or so for the day to play whenever you get a chance. Will you when you go through the tricks, obviously some tricks you're gonna get 3 in a row like right away, like really easier ones. Will you just basically go through the list, whatever you get 3 in a row, you just keep going, and then once you get to one that maybe you got 3 in a row but you want to keep working on it, or do you just kind of like go from there, or is it like a really set regimen?
It really, like, it is set, but it's also not. Like, you can definitely take the extra time that you need to work on those ones. So that's what I'll do, is I'll keep going down the list, and once I hit a roadblock where there's one where like I know I'm just not doing well on, and it changes honestly on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes I will be doing better at that one on a different day, but in that moment where I know I'm struggling with it, I really just try and work on that one a little more. Maybe I'll try and land it like, sometimes I'll usually cap it at like 5 times in a row, because that can be a stretch with certain tricks, especially if it is pretty difficult. Or I'll just try and hit it like 3 times in a row, maybe like twice or like 3 times if I'm really feeling it. Just dedicating just a little bit of extra practice, it definitely goes a long way, just based on my experience.
Is there one trick that you remember in the last few years that you were able to hit so often, like you were just a master of this trick?
Ooh, trying to pull in all the comps that I can think of right now.
Yeah, like NAKO last year was like the scooping. Was it the scooping goldfish? That was 2019. Sea whip and stuff, and then last year was like last year NAKO was double tray and
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
those double lates. Every comp kind of has a different feel of the tricks, you know?
Yeah, it's hard. I can't really like think of one that
Okay.
I know I had like for sure because like again, I really try and make sure that I'm like well rounded with all of them.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a lot that just like come like way easier to me, and I'll just kind of like not push them to the side, but just kind of like focus on other ones instead. Um,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to think of just one though.
Do you
Um,
think you do every day when you practice for a comp? Do you think you do every trick at least once? Do you ever
what like in a comp or
be like preparing for a comp? Like if you know this hour today when I practice, do you go through them all real quick and then you tackle the ones that you were having trouble with?
yeah, no, definitely. I'll definitely just hit the entire list just
Yeah.
right then and there.
Yeah.
And then yeah, just take just that little bit of extra time to just work on the ones that I know I need to work on.
And furthermore, do you every day do you hit each trick 3 times in a row or sometimes just once?
No, I definitely hit like once I get into that point of like my regimen, like like the first 3 days is kind of just casually just going
Yeah.
through them and getting used to them. But once you hit like for me, it's usually like day 3, and then I'll just go through and I really just make sure that I do hit them 3 times and like completely legitimately. I don't
Yeah.
like BS ones. Like if I do part of it, miss the second part, I don't put it back on that part and then finish it. I completely
Yeah.
reset and just make sure I can actually do it a legit 3 times in a row.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Um, so what can we expect from you in future comps? Is there comps that you really have an eye out for?
I'm really right now, open has definitely, I would say, been my thing at competitions. I'm really trying to get better at freestyle. And it's funny, I got like a major confidence boost from Battle at the Border last year. I
Yeah.
got second in freestyle, and I didn't even honestly, I didn't make it that far in open last year, compared to just other competitions. But I definitely surprised myself with the freestyle, just because that's a competition that I normally don't really have a practice like planned for. I kind of just
Yeah.
go into it and I just kind of hit whatever I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely like the main one for me that I want to go to now is catch and flow, because
Okay.
I'm starting to figure out like what my freestyle like flow and my style is.
Yeah.
And I do want to put it to the test there once I'm able to like actually go. I didn't really want to do the online one this year just because it's so different.
Yeah.
And it was honestly just it didn't feel the same
Yeah.
to me. But I definitely want to go back to Japan and do that whenever they've got it in person for sure.
What about KWC in that format?
I really I surprised myself the first time going, which was I guess 2019. I wasn't all I wanted to do was make it to the final day.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't expecting to get 12th overall. Um, I could have sworn there were so many other people ahead of me, but I was honestly very surprised to see my score at the end, and I was definitely happy with it. But I'm definitely, I would say, comfortable with that format too. It's always fun, like figuring out your tricks and getting that whole uh, practice thing figured out too, because that's a completely different game. And I'm still trying to figure that out, but I feel like I do have like a good way of going about those two, and I think that definitely kind of translated over into this past year's one too, even though it was online and it was so weird. Like
Yeah.
everything, like they completely reformatted
Yeah, I
the
know with
competition,
the
which it was fine. Like it is what it is, but it was definitely it was different, but it was still
yeah.
fun.
They had the
Definitely
ladders where
enjoyed
you
it.
had to hit them all in a row, you know?
Yeah. Oh man, that was so hard. I overshot so much. I wish I didn't. I wish I kind of just kept it down just a little bit, but
Yeah.
again, I don't think it would have been enough to win, but I really did just want to like finish my run, honestly, more than anything.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Hopefully this year we'll get back to in-person comps and get normal again.
I really hope so. Hopefully by NAKO at least. I mean,
Yeah,
hopefully
for
that by
sure.
that point
I'm
there'll be
hoping
enough stuff.
KWC would be amazing, but at least NAKO.
For sure. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
cool, dude. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to talk about. I got through the questions. I think in the video, I'm just going to kind of talk about how like there's two aspects. One is physical and one is mental. Physical is like easy. It's just practicing the tricks over and over again. And then mental is like, getting over the nerves for the comp and doing comps to get experience in, and how one is basically not more important than the other.
Yeah,
And they're both
definitely
incredibly
equally
difficult.
important.
Yeah, for sure. But I figure that I don't want to give like advice because I haven't actually won a competition, so it's awesome to have you in here and going through your regimen. It's cool that you're like open about it too. I think other sports, you want to kind of keep your strategy closed because you don't want to lose, but Kendama's
Yeah.
not really like that,
Yeah, honestly, and like I'm totally cool like explaining like what I do to people, because a lot of the time they'll I've been told like, dude, you're crazy. Like, why do you do that? Like, that's so much work. Like, like you could easily just like lose. Like, you could end up like putting in all this work and then lose like right away. And I have before, but like, like what if I do get far? Like, then that work, all the work I put in would have been for something.
Yeah.
Because you just go the extra mile that other
No, for
people aren't
sure,
willing
man.
to go. But yeah, and I mean, I'm totally fine with like telling people what I do, because like, some people will just like, no, I'm just gonna do this. You're crazy, dude.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because before a competition, you'll often see a lot of people like going through all the tricks like on their stories and stuff. Like I see that with so many people, like, oh, practicing about the border, and they're just like running through all the entire list on their story. I don't show people how I'm doing in my practice. That's the one thing I do keep secret. I don't want people to know how honed I am. I want to keep that to myself, show up, and then show how honed I
Yeah,
am.
dude. Yeah.
But like my strategy, I'm totally fine telling other people, like, because it works for me, and hopefully it works for somebody else.
Yeah, for sure, man. So actually, real quick, like how did you do in the last NAKO 2020?
I think I want to say I made it to top, because it was not double elimination. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say it was single elim, because I only remember losing to Nick in that one. I think I made it to top 16.
Okay, so you played Nick
And so
pretty early. I
played
remember
him.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel after that? After losing, I'm sure, did you put in just as much work for NAKO?
Oh yeah, I definitely put in the same amount. NAKO was honestly, in my eyes, and I feel like a lot of people agree with this too. It's kind of as far as the tricks go, it's a totally different like style of like trick list for the comp, because I feel like NAKO tricks are kind of more like hard, like banger tricks.
Yeah.
That you are just like, if you land this in a competition, like that looks like that's insane, like that's crazy. But like with the battle at the border tricks, they're almost more centered around like consistency, which is what I like really like. And I think that's why I've like been able to like do so well in battle at the border specifically, as opposed to like some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Just because I do like the fact that they're centered around being consistent at tricks.
Yeah.
And I know like in my practice, that's the point, just be consistent.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's just pretty much how it is. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I noticed that too with battle at the border. There's tricks that I was able to do like first try. But competition, you need to be able to be really honed at them. It is a different level though. It's a, oh, good. I have a quick question. So, I think there's pretty interesting strategies that people do regarding bottom 8 tricks and top 8 tricks. How do you differentiate between those two, or do you practice them all at all times?
I do them all just in case. With me, I know that I'm perfectly capable of getting to top 8 like in a competition, as long as I do what I plan on doing.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be unprepared in the event that I do get into the top 8, because I know it's like definitely a possibility. And honestly, everybody should have that mindset too.
Yeah.
Like everyone's totally capable of doing it if they put in the work. So I definitely don't leave those tricks out at any time. At any time I go through the tricks, I always make sure to hit those just as many times as the non-top 8s.
Like if you print a list out, the day the tricks come out, do you even differentiate between the two, or do you just really
do
that's
the whole
awesome,
thing?
man.
Yeah, it's all one list to me. Like honestly, that's the easiest way to put it.
That's really interesting. I'm glad I asked that question because at least my goal is to go to top 8. I haven't gotten top 8 yet, so from that perspective, if my goal is to do that, I'm focusing 100% on the bottom 8 tricks. But I know, I mean, when I do get top 8, I'm gonna want to win, right? So
Yeah,
I'm gonna have
exactly.
to,
'Cause you made it that far.
yeah,
You can go all the way. That's just
yeah,
what you got to tell yourself.
yeah, for sure. Um, that's really cool. So back to like NAKO 2019, or just like past comps before this. Any like tough losses that come to mind?
Um, I'm trying to think of like the ones that like got to my head the most. I was I would say disappointed in how I did in this last battle at the border, not or I guess it was the 2021, the last one that we were at in person.
Yeah,
I got out a lot earlier than I normally do, and it was honestly because of really small mistakes. It was almost always because I would literally just miss the in on certain tricks. So I remember losing 2 matches back to back because it was double elim, and so I lost 2 back to back, and I was done. I think I don't even think I made it to like the top 32. Uh, I think I might have gotten to like top 32 at the highest, but that was like a big like 'cause that was just the start of the year, and I knew that we still had a lot of other competitions to come.
yeah,
Um, so I knew then, and like I really take like good mental notes when stuff like that happens. I just know I need to take my time more. Don't
yeah.
let what was I gonna say? Don't let
Let
your guard
loss get to
down.
you.
Don't treat any part of the trick differently than the other. The in is just as important as any other part of the trick is, because it's very easy to miss on those. You can choke just
Yeah.
like that.
I noticed yesterday, you and Nick, you would hit the lunar juggle lunar, and you would take like 5 seconds before you went in. Was it
Hmm.
kind of the string, or was it just making sure that it goes in?
Oh, I just made sure that the hole was perfectly lined up. Like I
Okay.
really, that was again like in that last round. Like I knew, okay, these are my mistakes. Let's not do these again, because
Yeah.
that's what gets you out. Just remembering, really remembering your past mistakes is like the best thing that you can do.
Right.
That's what makes you better.
I want to go back to the old comp, but real quick on that point, you know, when you land a lunar and you just got to go in a comp, you take 5 seconds. You're making sure that it's totally important, because if you miss it, then you could lose. But when you practice, Liam, like you you don't have that mindset, because you're just practicing the trick. So what I've done before is like really imagine myself playing you or playing Nick, and then being nervous and like going through that, and like that would make me make sure I don't miss the in, or it'd make me like miss just in general because I'm nervous again. But how do you like look at that? Do you envision yourself during practice playing against like good people, or do you just say, you know what, I'm just going to practice this trick as much as I possibly can, and then the competition, you do that where you just make sure it goes in?
No, I definitely try and imagine that I'm in the context of a competition, and just paying attention to every little part of the trick. I think that's definitely super important. And again, like just just for the purpose of not taking forever when I'm practicing, I really just try and make sure I land everything as quickly as possible so that I'm not taking, 2 to 3 hours to try and do this. Um,
Yeah,
and just, getting everything done quick. But and like you do that by just making sure that you don't mess up on simple things. Um,
yeah,
and just imagining that you are in the scenario where the whole competition's on the line, and you know one small little mistake could knock you out.
yeah.
Definitely try and keep
Um,
that in mind.
so back to NKU 2019. Um, you do the same regimen of practicing a few hours a day. Uh, when you lose that early, um, do you tell yourself like, I need to practice more, or do you tell yourself these are the mistakes that I made mentally, so let me fix those next comp?
Yeah, honestly, the main corrections I make are mental, because I think at that point I had my whole practice thing completely figured out,
Yeah,
because that strategy has worked for me in the past. But on the day of competition, it's really just a mental game. At that
yeah,
point, when you're at the competition and you're getting ready, there's not really anything you can do differently to practice the tricks at that point, because
yeah,
it's kind of just go time.
yeah,
But the mindset is super important. That's definitely like what I really just try and make sure is there. Before actually, competing.
yeah, for
I'll
sure.
keep in mind every single little mistake and never forget that. because that could be what makes the difference in the next competition.
Yeah, for sure. What was your first competition that you won?
First one that I won, I believe it was TKO 2016. It was a
Okay.
speed ladder competition, which was kind of funny
Yeah.
because Alex Mitchell is now the official king of that competition. He has destroyed me every time since.
Really?
But yeah, no, it's funny. I played him actually the first time, but he absolutely demolished me ever since. He's so good at that style of competition. He's a beast.
Yeah. What was your first open win?
First open win was Battle at the Border 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Who'd you play?
It was Ben Harrell, I think. Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting. How did that feel to win for the first time in open?
Oh, that was crazy. Basically, it was a really good game. I can't remember the final score, but I know that it was close. We were matching each other on a bunch of tricks. The whole crowd was getting hyped. And honestly, if you look back at the video footage, because there is footage of it, and this was back when I was playing for Pineapple actually, but I was just there, and you could tell on my face, like I was like having a good time up there. Because me and Ben were like, I'm cool. Like me and Ben are like pretty close at this point, so we were just like up there, just like casually, just like having a good time, just kind of just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then finally, like winning that, had all the homies run on stage, and there's like bombarding me and just, showering me with love. Like I was like, all right, whatever. Like that's cool. It was just a really good feeling.
Yeah. Was that the most
Really
memorable
cool
one,
to
do you
like
think?
see, because like that was like the most practice at that point that I had put in
Okay.
for a competition like that, and it was cool to see it like pay off.
Was that the most memorable win, or do you think yesterday was?
Uh, it's tough because it's memorable for a different reason.
Yeah.
That was definitely my first big win, and definitely my first open win. So that's always going to stick out of my memory among all the other, any other one that I won. But the one yesterday, just because, like, number one, it was in it was an online competition, which is a completely different game. And it was in the final round against the best player in the world.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to stick out in my mind. And just the fact that we had so many people watching that too, like that's definitely the biggest like viewer turnout.
Yeah.
Like I think at like any event, right? Like of people
Probably.
watching an event. So
Yeah,
like
for
that's
sure.
definitely going to stick out to me. Like it's memorable, like I said, like for a different reason.
I mean, it felt like it was the biggest event, even if it was online. It felt like everybody was watching it. Everybody was hype. It was like palms were sweaty. Everyone's nervous. It wasn't like a fun, chill, Liam versus Ben are having fun. It was like, it's Nick
It was
versus
like
Liam. Like,
super serious, yeah.
yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, like the 2017 Battle of the Border, it was like still like kind of, I wouldn't say the early stages of the competition, but it was definitely just kind of like a smaller scale competition. Like, if you win or lose, it's not like a huge deal. Like compared to like MKO at the time, or like what are the other big ones? Like Battle in Seattle was big, Dom the D was big. Battle of the Border was still on the come up.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't quite there yet. And now it's, I would say, probably like the second biggest competition in the country.
Yeah.
So it's cool, like being able to win this one now. Like it's definitely like a much bigger deal.
Yeah, for sure. What do you, so, when you talked about how some people were saying like, why do you put that much work into comps, and what if you lose? Obviously, it's not like that valid of an argument, because every winner that's won a comp has put that much work into it. So you need to put that work into to win. But when it comes to like, this is a point I kind of want to bring into the video too, but when it comes to greatening your kendama ability in general, I mean, you're not doing tricks that are necessarily hard for you. Like, if we can go through the list right now, I'm sure you'd get most of them first tee. But how do you feel honing in comp after comp? How do you feel that affects your overall kendama ability?
Again, I think the main thing is it just makes you more consistent, and it makes you pay attention to the little things. I can definitely catch myself like when I'm going for tricks, the more I'm going for them, I pay attention to the little things that I'm messing up on.
Yeah.
And in my next attempt, I know kind of like what to fix.
Yeah.
And just to keep trying it, because consistency is key.
Yeah.
I'd say that's like the main thing, honestly, and just putting in the extra time to work on those things that you need work on is definitely something I can translate into other aspects of Kendama.
Yeah, I thought when I practiced a bunch for NAKO, I felt super honed after. Like I just was like pretty dialed in, just for any general trick. But even yesterday, when I'm going through a Battle at the Border trick, and like I'm really focusing on doing like a lunar or whatever, I paid attention to string, I paid attention to my fingers, paid attention to like the Ken. And afterwards, I was just going for a story trick, like a 888, whatever I usually do. But I noticed that I paid attention to like every time where the Ken was going instead of kind of getting lazy and just kind of going for it.
Yeah.
And almost like acting like it was like a comp trick, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely something I totally catch myself doing now, just because
Yeah.
of that. It's just keeping that mindset in every other aspect of the game. It does help.
Yeah.
If you can recognize that, it totally helps.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I think that's it, dude. Do you have anything else you want to add in regards to Kendama competition, finals, any other topic or any other thing that you want to add?
I'm trying to think, is there anything else that you want to know or like would want to like put in the video to like, I don't know, make it interesting, or just think it'd be like good for people to know? I can't really think of anything on my end, but if you had something specific that
Yeah,
you
I mean,
wanted me
we
to
went
like
through the
talk about.
questions that I went through. I was thinking about doing this. I don't want it to be cheesy, but could we watch the last trick again against Nick and just kind of get your like genuine reaction, even if
Yeah,
it's just
for
like,
sure.
wow, that was cool. I
Yeah.
think it'd be kind of fun, you know?
Yeah, that'd be dope. I'm down.
I mean, I was watching it and I was having like another, palm sweaty experience from last night. All right, I'm gonna share my screen here. I have it right up. It's as if I planned.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right.
Right on that final moment.
Let's go back a little bit. So it's 4-2. Second game.
That was the second attempt, I think. Yeah, right here is just like thinking. That's that little extra pause. I just kind of thought about it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I was like, this is it. Just remember what I did in practice. Just know those little movements that make such a big difference, and just do it right now. And like, don't worry about if he misses or not, because there will be other tricks you can get him again. But just focus on doing it right now. Like, now's the time.
Wow, man. How are you feeling at this moment?
In shock. I was just definitely speechless. Because like at that point, I kind of realized like what I did. Like I realized that I played him earlier and won, which was honestly like huge for me, because that doesn't usually happen against him, because he's incredible. He's the best. But I kind of realized that what happened. Like I beat him earlier, I played him again and lost. Like totally understandable, because he's the GOAT. He's the best. And then I realized like, oh, I did it. Like
Yeah.
it's done. I actually did it.
Yeah,
I just didn't really have any words other than that.
I texted like the first game you played Nick. I was texting all my friends like, "Oh my God, Liam's gonna win! Liam's gonna win!" You know, because I just knew if you were able to win, then you probably would see Nick again. But was that the first time you ever beat Nick in anything?
No, it's funny. The first time I actually beat him was at Battle at the Border 2017. That was the first,
Okay.
the only one that the
Yeah,
twins have
I
been
remember
to
they
in
don't want to
person.
go. You didn't want to go because they just lost, I guess, to you, right?
Yeah,
Or Nick did.
but you know what's actually funny? And this is actually just something really funny if you want to like throw this in the video. I have never beat Zach Gallagher once in a single competition. I've never beaten Zach. He's like my nemesis.
Yeah.
Every
and
time I
everything.
played him, and it's usually like MKO, he'll always smoke me no matter what it is. Like they're so different. Like they're always so honed on different things, but it's just so funny because it's always hit or miss with him, or with well, it's hit or miss with Nick. But with Zach, I always just like, shoot, I'm gonna lose. I'm playing him.
So you did beat Nick before. You beat him in 2017.
Yeah, and I think I actually played him. I want to say I played him in, I think it was NAKO 2019 and won.
Okay.
Back at the last in-person one.
Really?
So yeah,
okay.
It was the final day. I think I did play him once.
Gotcha. So you played him.
But yeah,
and then,
so it's happened before. But in a normal competition setting, when he plays me, he's he usually smokes me, which is fine.
As everyone else. Awesome, man. Well, dude, congrats again.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for talking. I think it was really cool just to have you in here. That's gone through so many Kendama players, what they're going through when it comes to open final competition. And I see beginner and intermediate, I see shaky hands. Like everybody is going through the same exact thing.
Oh, yeah. It's totally natural. It's part of it. I totally had it. That was a huge thing that everyone, I mean, it's just a natural thing. Everyone gets it.
Yeah. And
more experience, more practice, you just get through it.
Yeah. So it's so cool that you went through that, you had that, and then you ended up beating Nick Gallagher yesterday to win the biggest event, I guess thus far in Kendama.
That's so weird to think about.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't seem like it, but
yeah. Well, hey, I mean,
kind of
next in-person event's probably just going to be bigger. Everyone's going to be wanting to go out for that. So
for sure,
we'll see you there.
Absolutely, I will be there.
Yeah, and you'll be ready.
Oh yeah, you know it.
Yeah. All right, Liam. Well, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was good talking to you, and we'll keep in touch.
All right, for sure, man.
All right.
You have a good one.